Brain fog, anxiety, rage, huge emotional roller coasters. If menopause has left you feeling like a stranger in your own mind, you are not alone. Let's talk about how I reclaimed some clarity in my life. Hi, I'm Tanya from Queen Bee, and I help women in midlife navigate the mental and emotional shifts of menopause and rediscover who they are underneath it all. Now, in this video, I'm going to share a little bit, a very small snapshot because it was big, of how menopause impacted my mental state and some of the strategies that I use to feel steady and clear again. Now, the big thing to keep in mind is menopause doesn't just affect our bodies. It's not just oh, we've got a period and oh, we don't have periods anymore. Yay. It is so much more. It affects your brain, your emotions, your identity, how your body interacts with what we eat, our environment, all the things. We're not told that. And we often blame ourselves for the confusion or the chaos. Now, the big thing about menopause is that for many of us, it is huge. And for all of us, it has an impact on ourselves going forward, whether or not we're aware of that. But for today, I just want to focus on how it can feel in ourselves when we're going through this. Now, one of the first symptoms that I know I experienced when I was going through menopause, and kind of, it's been a long journey, I'm nearly past it, I think, but the overwhelming impact of anxiety. So this is hormonal anxiety. And for me, this came in when I was pregnant with my second child. I was at home. I'd had also struggled a bit with depression because I'd lost my identity. I'd lost my job just after I came back from mat leave. I'd lost my sense of identity. I felt very isolated. I had all my hormones going on, and I became extremely overwhelmingly anxious. And for me, it was all about my children. I was convinced when my husband drove off with my toddler that I would never see them again. And I would be fixated and visualize. It was horrific. It was a horrible headspace to be in. And it was overwhelming. I couldn't get support for that because I couldn't talk about it either. It was just so much. That was the first thing I experienced. The next thing that it kind of got caught up with, having babies and you don't get much sleep, and then you're just still not getting much sleep and you're still not getting much sleep. And so you don't realize sometimes when there's other things going on in your life that actually there's this pattern that's building. And it probably wasn't until about 5 or 6 years after my anxiety had started, that the brain fog moved in, and I started, not being able, I can't remember now, I can't remember what words I'm using, but along with that, there'd been all the emotional stuff, and, you just assuming it's to do with something else. When looking back, you can sort of say, actually, you know what? I think that a lot of that was menopause, and it was just that change in hormone and that dysregulation that started throwing out everything. It's incredibly frustrating that people still think about hot flushes as being the indicator for menopause. Now, that is often the later one that comes through. Often the things that come through first is the brain stuff, because we have got receptors in all through our brain. Like, there's so many of them that all relate to our hormones. So as soon as our hormones start going off, and you might have noticed this when you've had your periods and you go through that sort of cycle of when you're more alert and more capable and other times not, with menopause it's even more so. What really empowered me, the first thing that really empowered me was when a friend said to me, which was when I was about 5 or 6 years in, I think you've got perimenopause. And I was like, what the is that? Never heard of it before. But giving it a name and then being able to read up on it, research it, find stuff, wasn't always easy. It really helped because suddenly I felt like, okay, I might not be able to control what's going on, but I can appreciate what's causing it. I'm not going insane. My brain isn't dying. It is just going through an absolutely massive change. Reverse puberty. It's reverse puberty. And can I tell you, my girls are going through puberty right now. So we are both all over the place. Okay, so the next thing that really helped, and this actually took me a while to find, which is why I really want to share it now, because one of the big things with Queen Bee is making sure that we all have the resources that we need to understand what's going on and how we can support ourselves, because that information wasn't available. Okay, so we want to do grounding practices. We want to make sure that we are finding things that are going to help us calm, because our systems are kind of all in a state of overwhelm as a result of this hormonal shift. So we want to calm our nervous system. Now, the big ones that helped me initially were things like trying to do a bit of yoga. It was not easy when I had young kids to manage. But breathing and finding people and places where I could get that sort of support. Now, support is huge. That is about understanding that we are not alone. That is about understanding that there are things that we can do to help ourselves feel better. And the other part of it is that inner thing of like, we don't need shame. It comes up. It came up huge for me this year, which really surprised me because that wasn't an emotion that I connected with myself. But what we need is more compassion for ourselves. And sometimes we also need to ask for that from our family and our friends. And I think that's the other reason why it's really good to have a name for what's going on, is that we can actually share that and say, look, I'm an emotional train wreck at the moment. It's because I'm going through menopause. And it's like, okay, yep, we'll stay away from you for a bit, give you a bit of space. If you need anything, just hold her from a distance, whatever it might be. Understanding that this isn't us changing as who we are. It's often about discovering who we are, because we've actually been living for other people a lot of our lives, and it's time for us to kind of be okay with who we are. All right, so coming back to this video, not me just ranting on, menopause can feel like mental chaos. We know that, we experience it. But with awareness, a bit of love, and some tools and techniques, we can feel much more like ourselves again, either our old self or perhaps our new self. You are not going mad. You are going through something huge and something powerful, and you don't have to go it alone if you don't want to. In Queen Bee, we have our Queens Bee Free membership, which is all about our free resources. We also have our Ruby Wellness membership, which also has in all the resources that were created during our Navigating the Change Summit earlier this year, which was amazing. And it has so many different experts sharing their expertise from a whole lot of perspectives. And it is quite a comprehensive resource, and it's available for you. We also have From Chaos to Calm, our free 3-day reset program, which we run every 2 months. And what else have we got? We also have Transform, which is our big program. It's a course, or you can experience it in a much deeper level with our group and one-to-one coaching. The details are below. Of course, this is a video. Please like, subscribe, and share, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.